Surrey and White Rock Chamber of Commerce, now one of the largest and most influential business organizations in Canada. I also want to congratulate Jocelyn Young, the CEO. Her leadership comes at a pivotal moment as this rapidly growing region continues to play a major role in BC's economic future. They are a vital advocate for small businesses and the tourism sector, industries that create jobs, support families, and showcase our communities to the world. By working collaboratively with the government, these organizations help ensure local entrepreneurs have the certainty, support, and opportunities they need to grow and succeed. Today, I encourage all members to stay closely connected with their local chambers and boards of trade. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Hear, hear. For Haldimand Northfolk. The Honourable Member for Haldimand Northfolk. The Honourable Member for Haldimand Northfolk.
Are we SO31? Canada has shaped the world far and beyond our borders. One such contribution lives on in the phrase we still use every day, the real McCoy. As we mark Black History Month in Canada, we recognize the achievements of Elijah McCoy, born in Canada to formerly enslaved parents who achieved greatness while facing barriers and discrimination. Elijah McCoy transformed modern engineering by inventing automatic lubrication systems that revolutionized railways, ships, factories, and industrial machinery. Black History Month matters because it tells a story, a full story of Canada, honoring excellence, acknowledging struggle, and our shared Canadian history. As we reflect on the legacy today, let us strive for excellence by always asking for and being the real McCoy. Happy Black History Month.
The Honourable Member for Sherwood Park for Saskatchewan. Hey, oh, I'm sorry. No. The Honourable Member is correct. The Honourable Member for Prescott Russell, Cumberland.
Madame la Présidente.
Madam Speaker, I am honoured to rise today to highlight the hard work and devotion of Canada's remarkable dairy farmers. This week, dairy farmers from across the country are in Ottawa for their annual Dairy Policy Conference. Every day, on thousands of farms across Canada, including many in my riding of Prescott Russell Cumberland, farmers work tirelessly to provide Canadians safe, nutritious, high-quality milk. But they do so much more than just feed our families. Canada's dairy sector strengthens Canada, our economy, the vitality of our rural regions, and our food sovereignty. Today, I would like to sincerely thank Canada's dairy farmers for their commitment to their farms, their communities, and our great country. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
For Regina, West Canada.
Madam Speaker, last week the Prime Minister visited a grocery store to announce his Canada Groceries and Essential benefit. While this program will do absolutely nothing for the vast majority of Canadians, it's even receiving lukewarm reviews from Regina's anti-poverty advocates. John Bailey, CEO of the Regina Food Bank, said that this rebate is not a magic bullet and not the only step that we're going to need to really make sure we're combating food insecurity. Dennis Simard, Executive Director of Regina's Al Ritchie Community Association, said he expects food insecurity to increase despite the rebate because of rising food inflation. And Peter Gilmer of Regina's Anti-Poverty Ministry said that it's certainly not enough. For those Canadians struggling to make ends meet, know this: Conservatives see you, Conservatives will fight for you, and together we can build a better Canada for all Canadians.
Hear, hear.
The Honourable Member for Nipissing-Temiskaming. Madam Speaker.
The vital role Canada's independent automotive repair sector plays in my riding of Nipissing-Temiskaming. Independent service technicians and repair shops help keep vehicles safe, reliable, and on the road. For households already working hard to make ends meet, a vehicle out of service for days can mean missed shifts and lost income. Local, Highly skilled repair businesses, including those serving rural and northern communities like Nipissing-Témiscamingue, helps Canadians get back behind the wheels quickly and affordably. I had the opportunity to meet with members of the Automotive Industries Association of Canada, who spoke about the importance of fair access to vehicle repair information and tools. Strong progress on the right to repair helps ensure consumers continue to have choice, affordability, and timely repairs, especially as vehicles become more complex. We welcome them to Ottawa.
The honourable member for Parkland.
Madam Speaker, earlier this year, one of hockey's most legendary goaltenders passed away. Glenn Hall was a true prairie boy and throughout his life abided by the values of hard work, humility, and determination. He is survived by his children, grandchildren, and many friends. In the 1955 season, Glenn made his NHL debut, earning the Rookie of the Year. In 1961, he won the Stanley Cup, earning the nickname Mr. Goalie. And in 1967, he earned the Conn Smythe Trophy, a rare feat for a player whose team did not win the Stanley Cup. A three-time Vezina Trophy winner, Glenn changed the game of hockey forever through his butterfly style of goaltending. And in 2017, he was honored as one of the 100 greatest NHL players of all time. A farmer, avid hunter, and sport shooter, Glenn was a pillar of the Stony Plain and area community. Our local arena is even named in his honor. He will be sorely missed, and his impact on the sport of hockey in the community of Stony Plain will not be forgotten.
The honourable member for Ottawa Centre.
Thank you, Speaker. Today we celebrate an interpreter whose voice will be instantly recognizable to members in this House. Over his 30-year career, Peter Douglas has also been the voice of Francophone leaders for 10 different leaders' debates and interpreted numerous budget and speeches from the throne. As a professor of conference interpreting at the University of Ottawa since 2007, he has transmitted his vast expertise to numerous cohorts of young interpreters who themselves work on the Hill now. A lawyer by training, Peter also interprets at the Supreme Court of Canada. Peter, you will be greatly missed, but we know you are eager to spend more time with your beloved dog, Piper, and at the curling rig. Happy retirement.
The Honourable Member for Mégantic-L'Érable-Lotbinière. Madam Speaker, in this Suicide Prevention Week, I cannot remain silent about the passage on February 10th, 2025 of my son David. He was 28. His story is not unique. In Quebec, every year, over 1,000 people choose to take their own lives. Almost 4,000 people are hospitalized for suicide attempts. To their loved ones, my family and I share your pain, your confusion, your anger, and the void caused by the suicide of one we love. I would also like to send a message to the health network so that mental health problems, which cause no bleeding but which eat people up inside, are recognized to the same degree as a broken leg or cancer. Energy and resources devoted to treating the body should also be available to those who are suffering on the inside before their pain becomes terminal. We would not let someone bleed out in an emergency room by putting them on a 6-month waiting list for a transfusion. So why do we let people with injuries that could be as deadly as cancer suffer in silence? For my son David, for our family, for his friends, for those who are suffering, and for their loved ones. The Honourable Member for Berthier-Masquin-Angers. Madam Speaker, February marks Black History Month, which Quebec is celebrating for a 35th year. Under a very well-chosen theme, Together, Let's Raise Our Voices, we will be discussing coexistence in Quebec, openness, and the contributions of Black Quebecers. Like every year, everyone will be invited to a series of events showcasing the history, culture, talent, and pride of Black Quebecers. While the event is devoted to memory, it is also an opportunity to imagine a common future in a welcoming and pluralistic Quebec. On behalf of the Bloc Québécois, I invite everyone to take part in activities from Montreal to the North Shore to Mauricie, and I would like to wish everyone a happy Black History Month.
The Honourable Member for Canada.
Madam Speaker, February is Preventative Health Awareness Month, a reminder that the best health care often starts long before someone visits the hospital. Preventative care saves lives. whether it's routine screenings, mental health supports, physical activity, or eating well. Early action helps us stay healthier longer. This week, I attended an event in Canada to help kick off Preventative Health Awareness Month. Originally started by Margaret Wallace Duffy, this initiative has grown into a national movement. In my community, I see firsthand how preventative health initiatives from seniors fitness classes like those led by Susan Kunstad to community resource centers, they help people remain active and connected. So this month, I encourage Canadians to take one small step, book that appointment, choose one healthy habit to start, and make prevention part of your plan. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The honourable member for Central Newfoundland.
Madam Speaker, on January 23, 2026, 22-year-old Jamal Adem Omar assaulted a Royal Newfoundland Constabulary officer and a civilian employee outside police headquarters in St. John's, Newfoundland and Labrador. He faces charges of aggravated assault, assaulting a police officer, uttering threats, resisting arrest, and attempting to disarm an officer. Both victims were injured and required medical attention. And the civilian who was injured, Madam Speaker, was a very good friend of mine. You would be devastated if you saw the pictures. Officers and staff at RNC headquarters are devastated and agree that this happened on their own property. They want a safe and secure workplace where police and civilian staff can perform their duties without fear, and where they can drop off and pick up their kids at the on-site daycare, knowing they're safe. Criminals know the law is on their side. The assault is the result of 10 years of the government's mismanagement of the judicial system. The government must listen to those on the front lines and support our police officers, strengthen protection.
The honourable member for Hamilton Centre.
Madam Speaker, I rise today to highlight how much federal funding has been coming to my riding of Hamilton Centre since we were elected. We delivered $12.2 million to Sakajewa non-profit housing to support Indigenous people facing homelessness. We invested roughly $13 million to build 82 affordable units to tackle the homelessness crisis head-on. In Budget 2025, we committed $25 million to the Downtown Hamilton YMCA to expand mental health and housing support for our most vulnerable. We also announced $950,000 to help expand the Art Gallery of Hamilton. Madam Speaker, that's not all. We provided $100,000 in funding for Hamilton Regional Indian Center, $15,000 for Boys and Girls Club, and $288,000 for Hamilton Region Conservation Authority. While the opposition talks, delays, and divides, but this government delivers.
Member for Saskatoon West.
Madam Speaker, in 2018, Saskatchewan was rocked by the news of 16 tragic deaths in the Humboldt Broncos bus tragedy. Today we learned that the deportation process for the truck driver responsible may finally be ending, as his last bid to stay in Canada has been rejected and the wheels of deportation are now in motion. Our hearts remain with the families and loved ones of the 16 victims who lost their lives and the many more who were injured in this horrific accident. That is exactly why Conservatives tabled amendments to Bill C-12 last fall, to bar individuals convicted of serious crimes from exploiting asylum pathways and avoiding deportations. It is outrageous that a non-citizen charged or convicted of a serious crime could even attempt to avoid removal using the many delay tactics provided by this Liberal government. Falsely claiming refugee status or using other procedural tricks are an insult to the victims of these crimes. Sadly, our reforms were rejected by the Liberals. Just another slap in the face for everyday Canadians by this Prime Minister. Conservatives stand ready to work with the government to close these loopholes and bring true justice to the victims of crime in Canada.
The Honourable Member for Hochelaga Rosemont East. Thank you, Madam Speaker. In less than 3 hours, the opening ceremony of the Milano Cortina Winter Olympics will begin. I would like to greet athletes in the Canadian delegation who will soon allow us to live great emotional moments. Madam Speaker, since December, many people in my riding have been watching women's sports. I hope Catherine Delapointe and Caroline Cote will both get gold medals. We also wish good luck to Nadia. This is an occasion to celebrate and watch women's sport. We all know that we can talk about names like Valerie Monte, We wish them luck, especially against the United States. We wish luck as well to our Canadian torchbearers. Go, go, go.
In Edmonton Northwest, too many warehouses, retail spaces, industrial yards sit empty as Canadians wait for the economy to get better, as confirmed by Stats Canada, which found Canada lost 25,000 jobs last month. But one great organization in my riding is a champion for change. Tribal Chiefs Employment and Training Services, led by Executive Director Eva John Gladue, has been a great example of how Albertans in public and private sectors work together to create pathways of prosperity in oil, gas, trades, and beyond. Eva has worked for over 25 years with industry to build healthy families by creating innovative partnerships in culture, housing, sports, and more. She and her industry partners have connected thousands of Indigenous workers with the training and work placements they need to be self-sufficient. 52,000 private sector jobs have recently been lost across Canada. The government needs to listen to more leaders like Eva to transform the way it thinks so as to help our economy reach its full potential. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Here. The honourable member for London Centre.
Madam Speaker, for generations, the people of London, Ontario have counted on the London Free Press, our daily paper, to capture its hopes, its aspirations, its cares, its concerns, and its worries for the future, Madam Speaker. That's true of its journalists, it's true of its photographers. Derek Rattan was an extraordinary talent. He passed away at the age of 60 in late January. He will be remembered as a family man. He will be remembered as someone who constantly gave back to the community, especially through his work. He was recognized nationally through awards. He will be, of course, missed by his colleagues, by his community, and especially his adoring wife, Sarah, his sons, Darcy and Shane. On a personal note, Madam Speaker, I knew Derek. He was a valued, truly valued member of London, whose talent came through in every photograph he took. So often his photos were on the front page of our paper. He will be deeply missed by all Londoners. Thank you very much.
Oral questions. The honourable member for Sherbrooke Park for Saskatchewan.
This Prime Minister promised the fastest growing economy in the G7. He promised to build this country. But today we're seeing that those policies are just not working. January saw a major drop in private sector employment of over 50,000 workers, a drop of 28,000 in the manufacturing sector alone. This government is presiding over a deepening employment crisis as more people are dropping out of the workforce. When will Liberals listen to the constructive solutions we have put forward and recognize that what they're doing isn't working?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary for Minister of Immigration.
Total employment, Madam Speaker, is up, in fact, by 134,000 jobs over the past year. Most of those jobs are in the private sector. We see a rate of inflation at 2.4%. That is well within the Bank of Canada's guideline, and also an unemployment rate that is now down to 6.5%. But we do not rest on that, Madam Speaker. There is anxiety in Canada. There is anxiety, but there is also resilience. Resilience that defines this country, that defines its people. What that resilience means is that there's an expectation that we work together. Will the Conservatives work with us to pass Budget 2025, measures that include benefits for his community and mine?
The honourable member for Sherbrooke Park for Saskatchewan.
Madam Speaker, we will work to advance solutions that work, and we will oppose what is not working. I'm looking again, just clearly at the employment numbers. Private sector employment fell by over 50,000 in the last month. Young people overwhelmingly report that they are worse off than their parents' generation because they can't find jobs and they can't afford homes. Canadians are looking for hope, they're looking for real solutions, and that starts with the government recognizing that what they're doing is not working. When will they come to that recognition?
The Parliamentary Secretary.
Canadians are, in fact, looking for hope, Madam Speaker. They're looking for hope, but they're also looking for people to work together in this House of Commons, to support them at this time, in the short term and in the long term. In the short term, what this means is, and we saw it, in fact, a spirit of collaboration helped to bring about C19. C19, of course, is the Canada Groceries and Essentials benefit that will provide up to $1,900 for a family of four. But for the long term, we can work together to ensure the budget passes. Spending is there for defense that will create tens of thousands of jobs, for infrastructure to build this country up, among other things. Will they help us?
The honourable member for Montmorency-Charlevoix. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Right now, young people in Quebec and across Canada aren't asking for the moon. They just want a job, a real job to start their lives. But what are they seeing? In January, Canada lost 25,000 jobs in the manufacturing sector, and investment is fleeing the country. Meanwhile, the only job growth is coming from more bureaucracy, not real jobs in the real economy. Young people are stuck with precarious employment or no jobs at all, while factories are closing in Baie-Comeau and elsewhere across Canada. Does this PM recognize that the economy is not creating the jobs our young people need to get started in life? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Since my colleague from Quebec is talking about employment figures, and he's certainly noted in Quebec, we created jobs, many of them, and where we've had the lowest unemployment rate in the country. But let's also recognize that the industrial sectors directly threatened by U.S. tariffs are the ones that are suffering the greatest, and that is why yesterday we announced a new strategy for the automotive sector so we can grow automotive production capacity in Canada. The Honourable Member. Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Liberals are patting themselves on the back for their work, but we're talking about 52,000 jobs from the private sector that have been lost after years of anti-development laws, closed markets, and the flight of capital to the U.S. The results aren't there. Every week, real workers are paying the price, and it's our young people that are being told to wait, to make sacrifices. Again, the Conservatives have proposed a clear path forward. Build here, protect our jobs, unlock our resources. Will the PM work with the Conservatives to create real jobs here for our youth and defend Canada's economic sovereignty? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Madam Speaker, our strategy to address these issues is in C-15 and in our budget. That's our plan. It is very broad and comprehensive, and there are many measures. Will our Conservative colleagues do what they must, support us, so we can pass the budget as quickly as possible?
Member for Dufferin-Caledon.
Last night, the industry minister said the quiet thing out loud. When pressed on how many vehicles their EV rebate, Canadian vehicles their EV rebate will apply to, she admitted it's only one. So the vast majority of these EV rebates will go to foreign car manufacturers, including Donald Trump's America. You know, the guy who's tariffing our autos and put 5,000 auto workers out of work and closed 2 plants. Rather than rewarding Donald Trump's America, why don't they take the tax off all Canadian manufactured vehicles to preserve Canadian jobs and benefit all Canadian auto workers?
The Honourable Minister of Environment and Climate Change.
Speaker, yesterday was a great day as we stood on the shop floor of an auto manufacturer and talked about how we're not only going to keep working to support building vehicles here in Canada, but we're going to make EVs more affordable and more available for Canadians. We are doing the hard work. We are standing to support auto workers in our country because we know that we have the best industry in the world. Why won't he stand and cheer along with them?
Honourable Member for Dufferin-Caledon.
The last time they ran EV rebates, between 2019 and 2025, 99% of the rebates went to foreign-made vehicles, including Donald Trump's United States. So while we're in the middle of a trade war and Donald Trump is tariffing our vehicles at 10%, leading to the closure of 2 manufacturing plants and the layoff of thousands of workers, Donald Trump's Buy America program is going to be benefited by Canadians buying American EVs, subsidized by Canadian taxpayers. This is outrageous. It's not a good day for Canadian auto workers. A good day would be if they adopted our plan to take the taxes off autos.
That's right. Minister.
Once again, it's another example of how Conservatives stand in the land of no and holding us back for the economy of the future. When we're talking about the rebates, let's be clear. The rebates actually are designed in a way to favor made in Canada. We are going to invest in the companies that invest in us. There is a specific part of this policy that not only, like I said, the rebates support made in Canada, but beyond that, we are incentivizing investments in building more of those vehicles right here at home because that is the future of the auto industry and we have the best auto workers.
The Honourable Member for Berthier-Masquinongé. Madam Speaker, some retirees have not received their old age pensions for 9 months, or they're receiving the wrong amounts because of the QRM software in Ottawa. 10 days ago, when we questioned the government, it responded that it was a scare campaign. Then the next day, it finally admitted that the problem existed, but it was only a few cases, some 30 cases. Well, yesterday, in a dramatic turn of events at committee, the minister recognized that 85,000 people are affected. 85,000. How many more people will it take before the Liberals stop sweeping this problem under the rug?
The Minister of Labour.
Madam Speaker, like the minister has said, the department is working as quickly as possible to resolve these issues and to ensure that the personnel has the necessary tools to pay these benefits effectively. More than 7,000 seniors are now receiving their payments on time. We are currently modernizing this decades-old system so we can improve the payment of benefits for all seniors in the future. Thank you. The Honourable Member for Berthier-Masquinongé. Madam Speaker, imagine there are retirees who are listening to these answers and who are having problems with their old age pensions, and the Liberals went from 30 days, 10 days ago, to 85,000 yesterday. And that's the worst cost overrun with the CUREM software. It's the human cost, actually. And the worst is that even yesterday, with 85,000 victims of this software, the Liberals were still treating this issue as if it was just a series of isolated incidents. When 85,000 people fall through the cracks of this system, there is a major problem, Madam Speaker. When will the Liberals fix this?
Secretary.
Madam Speaker, this is a major update of a decades-old system. The Minister's Cabinet contacted Bloc's members to obtain the names of seniors who were in urgent need of assistance in solving this problem, and we still haven't received a reply from the member with respect to the names of these constituents. And the department will continue to work to deal with these cases while pursuing the modernization of the system to guarantee that seniors do receive the benefits they need. The Honourable Member for Beauharnois-Salaberry. Madam Speaker, since June, civil servants have been warning the government that there are problems with old age pensions because of the CUREM software. And clearly, no one in the Liberal Party has addressed this issue, because 10 days ago they said the problem didn't exist and it was just a scare campaign. And then suddenly yesterday they found 85,000 retirees who are victims of this system. They just woke up 8 months after being informed of this. Why is this government never able to take its responsibility before it's too late? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Madam Speaker, it's not true. The implementation of this new payment platform requires an adaptation process, and the department is working tirelessly to ensure that the personnel has the necessary tools to familiarize themselves with the new system and to effectively pay these pensions. The service is already improving as employees are adapting. If they are experiencing issues, please contact Service Canada.
The Honourable Member for Middlesex London.
Speaker, auto workers in Ontario are getting pink slips. Thousands of jobs are gone at Cami, Stellantis, GM Oshawa, and others. And now this Prime Minister is forcing taxpayers to subsidize over $2 billion worth of foreign EVs. Canadians deserve better than to be sold out to the Americans. So instead of handing billions of subsidies to American-made EVs and killing Canadian jobs, will the Liberals cooperate with Conservatives and adopt our plan to remove the tax off Canadian-made cars?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Today, the government announced this new auto industry strategy. It is a comprehensive strategy that will invest in those that invest in Canada. We will continue to protect Canadian production of automobiles, and we firmly believe that the future of the industry is in electrical vehicles, and there will be assembly of electrical vehicles in Canada, Madam Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Middlesex London.
Speaker, let me clarify this and put this clearly for Canadians. Canadian auto workers lose thousands of jobs, and our domestic production is collapsing while these Liberals are forcing Canadian taxpayers to subsidize foreign-made electric vehicles. That includes the Jeep Compass EV, which should have brought jobs right here to Ontario. So when will the Liberals stop their betrayal and adopt our plan to remove the tax on Canadian-made cars to save jobs here at home?
The Honourable Minister.
Madam Speaker, once again, we have the best auto workers in the world right here in Canada. We are there to support them, and we are facing unjustified tariffs from the United States. The Conservatives don't seem to ever like to talk about that, but that is actually what our auto industry is facing into us, and that is why we have specific programs we're putting in place to support our workers in difficult times. But beyond that, we're building for the future, and that is what they never do. We are building for the future. We're supporting our auto workers. We were there side by side with auto workers and we made this announcement. We're going to be with them.
The Honourable Member for Leeds Grenville, Thousand Islands, Rideau Lakes.
President Trump slapped unjustified tariffs on Canadian autos, and thousands of Ontarians were put out of work as a result. Canadians need a plan that supports Canadian manufacturing and Canadian jobs. Only one Canadian vehicle qualifies for the Liberal EV subsidy, and that doesn't meet the moment. Will the government work with Conservatives, adopt our plan, and take the tax off Canadian-made autos to support Canadian auto manufacturing?
The Honourable Minister.
Madam Speaker, Canadians understand that we're facing an unprecedented time. It's a rupture when we're facing the unjustified tariffs from the United States, which the Conservatives never talk about. But we understand the impact on our workers. And in fact, the auto strategy announced yesterday included supports for our auto workers, including things like work sharing, because we understand their needs and we are there by their side. But we are not only there for this tough time, we are there to build for the future, to make sure they have the jobs of the future. We are going to keep working for a strong auto industry. Why won't they?
The Honourable Member for Leeds Grenville, Thousand Islands, Rideau Lakes.
Well, let me say it a little louder for the minister. We're talking about unjustified tariffs coming from the Trump administration. So we're talking about it. What we want from the minister and from this government is a plan that actually supports Canadian auto manufacturing. Look, your plan is their plan, Madam Speaker, is only going to help with one Canadian production line. We want to take the tax off all Canadian-made autos. Why do they want to subsidize President Trump's manufacturing strategy instead of supporting the hard-working men and women in Ontario's manufacturing?
Parliamentary Secretary.
Madam Speaker, finally, our friends from the other side recognize that the issues with the auto industry come from the U.S. tariffs. It's the first time I hear this from their side. Bravo, bravo. It's about time. It's about time. Besides that, Madam Speaker, as I said, we are going to invest in those that invest in Canada, in those that commit to Canada. And by the way, currently, the two largest auto manufacturers in Canada are Toyota and Honda, and they remain fully committed to operating here, Madam Speaker.
The member for Windsor-Tecumseh Lakeshore.
Madam Speaker, yesterday's announcement of a new national automotive strategy was nothing more than a slap in the face to Windsor's auto workers. The Prime Minister proudly announced that Canadians will now be subsidizing American-made vehicles. Why do the Liberals think that it's better to subsidize foreign-made vehicles rather than adopt the Conservative plan to cut the tax on cars made in Windsor and Canada?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Madam Speaker, I don't know how to say this in parliamentary decorum, but that's just not true. That is just not true, Madam Speaker. The announcement of yesterday confirms our commitment to our industry and confirms our assistance to those that invest in Canada, Madam Speaker. And there are very large companies that are currently committed to investing in Canada, and it will continue to do so. In order to promote that investment, that's what we announced yesterday, and it will work very well.
The honourable member for Windsor Tecumseh Lakeshore.
Madam Speaker, I'm not sure if the member across the aisle understands my question. 5,000 Canadian auto workers lost their jobs. This government's response is to hand out subsidies for American-built electric vehicles. I'm imploring the member across the aisle to answer the question. Instead of subsidizing foreign-made cars and killing Canadian auto jobs, will the Liberals adopt our Conservative plan to take the tax off of cars made in Canada?
The honourable minister.
Madam Speaker, time and time again, what we hear from the other side is that they actually have no plan. Yesterday, we presented a comprehensive auto strategy. It will help to reduce our emissions. It will help to support Canadians who want to buy EVs. The rebates specifically take into account a made-in-Canada component. It also has a component to support our auto workers in this time when they're facing the brunt of the unjustified tariffs from the United States. But more than that, we are standing side by side with our workers in our auto industry to build the industry for the future. What about that?
Yeah, the member for Halliburton Quarter Lakes.
Speaker, since 2016, auto production in Canada has collapsed from 2.3 million vehicles to just 1.2 million. We have lost over 5,000 auto jobs, including thousands in Oshawa and Brampton. Now the Liberals want to spend up to $2.3 billion in taxpayer money subsidizing foreign-made electric vehicles, many built in the United States, while Canadian plants sit idle. Instead of supporting manufacturing elsewhere, will the Liberals adopt our Conservative plan to take the tax off Canadian-made vehicles?
The Honourable Prime Secretary to the Government House Leader.
Yes, Madam Speaker, the Conservatives just don't get it. We are positioning Canada to be a global leader. It's important that the Conservative Party recognize the need for Canada to act. One of the ways in which they can do that, Madam Speaker, is stop the filibustering on our budget implementation bill. If they want to deliver something for Canadians today, the best thing that they can do is they can stand in their place.
The honourable member, can we have order so the honourable member can answer and we can go through question period? The honourable Parliament Secretary, 5 seconds.
Stop, Madam Speaker. 5 seconds. Well, let me give a clear message. You want to help Canadians? Time to stop filibustering and allow budget implementation.
The honourable member for Rimouski La Matapedia. Madam Speaker, the scientific community is concerned. The Liberals are cutting 20 jobs at the Maurice Lamontagne Institute in Mount Joly, a major regional scientific hub and a gem of research. And this is a worrying loss of expertise that jeopardizes both regional and economic development in our regions. And this also reduces the ability of the Department of Fisheries and Oceans to act on evidence, which is already a serious problem there. Can we really afford to weaken science just to save a few pennies?
Thank you for the question. And it is an important issue, Madam Speaker. I think science played an integral role in the building up of agriculture and agri-food in this country, and it's going to continue. I had the opportunity to meet with the president of the University of Saskatchewan just this week. I was in Laval at their university as well. We had good discussions. It's important that we move forward with a revised science program, Mr. Speaker, and we'll continue to do that. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The honourable member Rimouski. Madam Speaker, Liberal cuts in science are piling up. In addition to the 20 jobs lost at Maurice Lamontagne Institute, there have been cuts to agricultural research affecting more than 1,000 workers across Canada. In Quebec City, the Agricultural Research Centre is closing completely after nearly 60 years of operations. Unions are denouncing a major loss of expertise. Frankly, this reminds us of the Harper government years, which muzzled silence. In an economic context where we have to reinvent ourselves and stimulate the economy, how can the Liberals continue to cut science? The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we're spending less to invest more in science in this country. Science is extremely important. It's extremely important for trade. We are maintaining our presence in every single province, and we remain the largest agriculture institution in this country. Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker, by streamlining research and development, we can build a strong, resilient future for science. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The honourable member for Mégantic-L'Érable, Lotbinière. This Prime Minister wanted to dazzle Canadians with his grand promises to build on a scale like never seen before in Canada. But it's just a big illusion. What did he really do? He promised a deal with Trump, but tariffs went up. He promised homes, but he created offices for public servants. He promised to accelerate major projects, but not a single shovel in the ground. The results are more disappointing, and now we've learned that Canada has lost 28,000 jobs in January, and it's the small and medium business size workers that are paying the price. Instead of giving up, will the Prime Minister work with the Conservatives to restore Canadian sovereignty?
Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Madam Speaker, as my colleague noted earlier, overall employment is up over the past 12 months and wages continue to rise. These are proof points of an economic plan that is in action but is not over. This government brought forward this fall our economic plan in our budget, C-15, which is before the House, that's going to create tens of thousands of jobs. Jobs in the skilled trades. It's going to bring forward tax cuts that are going to grow our economy and increase investment. It's going to create major new investments in housing, in infrastructure, in some of the largest projects that this country has seen. When will the Conservatives put those small differences aside? Start cheering for Canada.
The honourable member for Mégantic-L'Érable, Lotbinière. Madam Speaker, we've been following their plan to adopt C-15, and they are the ones who tabled the timeline and then accuse us of filibustering this. It's ridiculous. Since they've been in power, what's happened? $58 billion in investment has fled Canada to the U.S., just like the headquarters of Brookfield. We're talking about 51,000 manufacturing jobs that have been lost last year. Will this Prime Minister support our bill on Canadian sovereignty to reward those who are building our economy rather than remaining passive while our jobs continue to go to the U.S.? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Short answer, no, we will not support my colleague's motion. That's clear, at least they know that. Now, the Canadian economy is going through a very complex period triggered by the trade war tariffs from the U.S. We've also shown a great resiliency in our economy. Problems are global, but the Canadian economy has shown that it is able to adapt to these major geopolitical changes. We are doing so, and to do this, we need to pass our budget, so let's work together. Inaudible. The honourable member for Côte-du-Sud, Rivière-du-Loup-Kamiskwata. Madam Speaker, the Prime Minister has talked about problems, but still thousands of Canadians are struggling to make ends meet. 25,000 jobs lost in January and $58 billion investment lost to the U.S. since the beginning of his term. This is unacceptable. Fortunately for the PM, Conservatives have proposed the Canadian Sovereignty Act to protect our industries and reduce our dependence on the U.S. Madam Speaker, will this Prime Minister finally work with us to protect Canada's sovereignty in the face of American threats? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Thank you, Madam Speaker. For a party that doesn't believe in climate change, they're doing a great deal of recycling. We hear this in the House constantly. Madam Speaker, our plan to build is working, and yesterday we tabled legislation to enhance Build Canada homes that will build housing across Canada, and we're doing so by stimulating steel, aluminum, wood sectors that are going through a tough time right now. We're protecting jobs, and our plan is supported by municipalities, by citizen organizations, and we hope they'll support it as well. Since last October, the forest sector is suffering from U.S. tariffs. In January, the manufacturing sector has been hit hard by losses of 28,000 jobs. Instead of working to solve these U.S. tariffs and support Canadian companies, the Prime Minister would rather let Chinese EVs in. Can the Prime Minister work with the Conservatives on the real issues and defend forestry workers?
L'honorable secrétaire parlementaire.
Madame la Présidente, il semble que...
Madam Speaker, I think we can all agree that we're in a tariff war. And these U.S. tariffs on our softwood lumber are completely unjustified. We announced $2.5 billion to help businesses and forestry workers. We have a one-stop shop to help them with funds to diversify, as well as innovation funds, as well as buy Canadian policies to increase domestic demand, strengthen the forestry sector. We have a working group that will be giving us recommendations. The honourable member for Beauce. If this is a priority issue, why aren't they actually doing something about it, Madam Speaker? The U.S. is currently and will always be our main trading partner. Everyone knows that, Madam Speaker. On January 13th, in Bécomo, 346 forestry workers lost their jobs. When will the Prime Minister start working with the Conservatives and defend our workers in regions like Beauce? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Madam Speaker, I'm a bit surprised to hear what my colleague said. Because the Conservatives have been blocking the $2.5 billion in assistance that our government included in the budget for the forestry sector. So will they help us pass the budget to help our forestry sector workers? Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. When he addressed the world at Davos last month, the Prime Minister talked about the gap between rhetoric and reality. Well, Madam Speaker, that gap is alive and well on the Conservative side of the aisle. The rhetoric is encouraging. Lots of talk and collaboration and working together. The reality, it doesn't always match Conservative words. Canadians want to know if the Conservatives will put country above party, or will they block important legislation, including the Budget Implementation Act. Can the Parliamentary Secretary let Canadians know what important measures would be blocked by the Conservative Party?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Immigration.
Madam Speaker, our colleague served his community as mayor. He's now fighting for his constituents in the House of Commons. And we have an opportunity now to come together and do the very same for our constituents. What will Conservatives do? Will they get behind Budget 2025? A landmark budget that invests in housing, in defense, in infrastructure to build this country up, to put in place the foundation for diversifying our trade strategy so we can ensure prosperity for current and future generations? Will they obstruct and play political games, or will they work with us on behalf of Canadians, Madam Speaker? It's their choice.
Honourable member for St. Albert, Sturgeon River.
Madam Speaker, Canadian workers are being pummeled. 25,000 net jobs lost in January, including 52,000 in the private sector. These numbers are not outliers. After 10 years of these Liberals, Canada has seen the slowest GDP growth in the G7, a meager 0.5% compared to more than 20% growth in the United States. So in the face of these numbers, will these Liberals finally accept responsibility for a decade of economic failure?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Government House Leader.
Yes, again, Madam Speaker, the Conservatives need a reality check. Well over 100,000 jobs since the new Prime Minister was elected last year. Madam Speaker, we are focused on building a Canada-strong economy, one that will improve the conditions in all regions of the country. That means looking at major projects. That looks at investments. We have a Prime Minister that is aggressively looking at exploring additional opportunities for exports. We have a Prime Minister that is literally bringing in billions of dollars of foreign investment. It's time that the Conservative Party...
The Honourable Member for St. Albert, Sturgeon River.
Madam Speaker, the Prime Minister promised a strong economy. He delivered stagnant growth, including negative growth in the first 2 quarters of 2025. The Prime Minister promised to build big, build bold, and build now, not a single project approved, and meanwhile, 25,000 Canadians are out of work in January alone. Enough of the rhetoric, enough of the empty promises. When will these Liberals come up with a real plan to get Canadians back to work?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Yes, Madam Speaker, I agree with the member opposite. Enough of the rhetoric. Yeah. The Conservative Party genuinely is more their self-interest is in the Conservative Party. It's time that you start thinking about Canadians. When you talk about investments, think about it. The first 5 major projects, over $60 billion of investment. Every region of this nation is going to benefit because we have a Prime Minister and a government that works for Canadians day in and day out. Conservative Party of Canada, get on side.
The honourable member for Calgary-Crowfoot.
Madam Speaker, in January, the Canadian economy lost 25,000 jobs, while even more unemployed Canadians have given up looking for one. Job loss at a time of food and housing unaffordability is catastrophic, Madam Speaker. The Prime Minister promised the best economy in the G7, but under his watch, Canadians have the highest food inflation, most expensive housing, lowest per capita GDP growth, and $58 billion in capital flight to the United States. So when will this government repeal the taxes and regulations that kill jobs and make life more expensive?
Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Madam Speaker, in the member's own home province of Alberta, unemployment has decreased this past month, and participation rate has actually climbed in his province, and that is part of the proof of the hard work that this government is doing with a solid strategic economic plan for the country. But Madam Speaker, we can't move forward as a country. We can't move forward unless we have the opposition's support to pass that economic plan, to invest in the jobs that we need, to build the projects that are going to bring our nation together, and to fight off the unjust tariffs and the trade war that we're in. So join Team Canada, get on board, pass our budget.
Calgary-Crowfoot.
Madam Speaker, yesterday I talked to a mortgage broker in Calgary who said her clients are increasingly worried about their jobs and that layoffs are killing home deals. She said that construction and energy workers are among the most affected. So the Prime Minister said that we're going to be an energy superpower and claimed that they are going to build over 500,000 homes per year. So if so, why are energy and construction workers the ones losing their jobs?
The Honourable Minister.
Speaker, in stark contrast with the Leader of the Opposition, our Prime Minister is doing what he did in Davos was showing what real leadership looks like. In Davos, the Prime Minister said middle powers must act together because if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. Madam Speaker, thanks to our Prime Minister, Canada is at the table. We're securing multi-billion deals with many different countries, including Indonesia and China. You know what this is going to do for Canada? This is going to double exports. It's going to create more jobs. It's going to make life more affordable and support our local businesses right here in our country, Madam Speaker. That is real leadership.
The Honourable Member for Sarnia, Lambton, Bequadjin.
Madam Speaker, Canada has lost over 5,000 automotive jobs. 32 paper mills have shut down, and in my riding, 3 facilities are shutting down. 51,000 manufacturing jobs have been lost in the year since the Prime Minister took charge. He said he was going to build, baby, build, but the only thing he's built is the highest unemployment rate for youth we've seen in a generation. So will the Prime Minister do what he promised, build at a scale we haven't seen in generations, and work with Conservatives to restore Canada's sovereignty in the face of American threats?
L'honorable secrétaire parlementaire.
Madam President, Madam Chair, we have a plan to build and build strong across the country, including in the forestry sector, where we're going to use our wood for things like Maison Canada and Buy Canadian Act. But for that, we need to be able to implement the budget that we presented, and we need the cooperation. And when are the Conservatives going to get on board with us to implement this Build Canada Strong program? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Sarnia, Lambton, Bequadjin.
Madam Speaker, where is the urgency? 67,000 jobs were lost in Ontario last month. Young people can't find work. Canadians are worried about paying their mortgage and affording groceries. So will the Prime Minister do what he promised, build at scales we haven't seen in generations, and work with Conservatives to restore our sovereignty in the face of these American threats?
Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. This is exactly what we're doing. We're building Canada strong, and we're building more and more housing. We're building at speed never seen before. Just yesterday, we put in the House the bill to enact Build Canada Home. Day after day after day, you are in this house talking to us about, they are in this house, Madam Chair, talking to us about affordability, but yet they are blocking everything. I'm sure Canadian and Conservatives riding would like to see going forward the proper measures we're putting to put more food on the table. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Well, member for Brandon Surrey.
Madam Speaker, Canadians are being crushed by the Prime Minister's failure to get the economy moving again. StatsCan confirmed Canada lost 52,000 private sector jobs last month, including 28,000 manufacturing jobs, a sector Manitoba families rely on, from aerospace in Winnipeg to value-added ag and resource processing across our province. Since the Prime Minister took office, $58 billion in investment has fled to the U.S., while the only job growth here has come from hiring more bureaucrats. Will the Prime Minister explain why his rhetoric about building and growing the economy means lost jobs for Manitoba families?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Unemployment is down to 6.5%. Inflation is within the Bank of Canada guidelines. We have a AAA credit rating and record foreign direct investment. In fact, we're building up the country for the success of current and future generations. But let's go off the script for a moment, Madam Speaker. He's on it. The previous member was on it. They both care about defence. I know that about these members. Southwestern Ontario, my region, is an anchor of the defence sector in Canada. We can all bring jobs to our communities and sustain them by supporting this budget because it is a landmark budget for defence. What will he do? What does he have to say to that?
For Brandon Surrey.
Madam Speaker, these members want to talk about defending our veterans. They've just closed the Veterans Affairs office in Brandon and moved it out to CFB Shiloh. So I think that's a bit rich coming from the member. But anyway, Manitoba workers want to build. That's what the question was about. Whether it's critical minerals, forestry, or manufacturing, uncompetitive Liberal laws have killed the jobs market. So while plants are cutting shifts and communities worry about their future, the Prime Minister promised to build at speeds never seen. When is he going to get started?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
We've gone back to the script, Madam Speaker. We have an opportunity. And if they don't want to listen to Liberals, as I advised just a few days ago in question period, they can listen to their former leader. Prime Minister Harper, former Prime Minister Harper, made clear that we have an opportunity to rise above partisanship now, at a moment of crisis, at a moment of rupture, to use that appropriate term. Nostalgia is not a strategy. We cannot look to the past. We have to build for the future. We have to diversify our economy, our trade relationships. We have to focus on defense like never before. We have to focus on housing like never before. What will we do?
The Honourable Member for Cowichette-Malahat-Langford.
This week, the Crofton Mill on Vancouver Island shut down. Growing tariffs and lack of access to local raw logs have forced over 30 mills in BC to close. The unemployment rate in forestry doubled in the last month. On South Vancouver Island alone, hundreds of trucks arriving weekly to export raw logs to foreign countries, as approved by this government. Our proposed Canadian Sovereignty Act will legalize rapid resource development in Canada, giving mills across BC a chance to survive. Will the Prime Minister protect our industries from rising tariffs, reduce raw log exports, and work with Conservatives in the face of American threats? Good job.
Hear, hear. L'honorable secrétaire parlementaire.
Madam Chair, the closure of a mill is a difficult news for workers, their families, and the communities. The federal government has come forward with supports for the sector, and we urge the provincial government to work with us as partners to protect these jobs. The Forest Sector Transformation Task Force is right now hard at work to formulate recommendations to grow and build new futures for the sector. While the opposition casts blame and rage, we will continue to examine every option available because workers across Canada.
L'honorable député de Terrebonne.
The Honourable Member for Terrebonne. Madam Speaker, in just a few hours, 207 Canadian athletes will be entering the Olympic Stadium, proudly holding the maple leaf to represent Canada in the Milan Cortina 2026 Winter Olympic Games. Can the Parliamentary Secretary for Sport tell us about what this government is doing to support our athletes and how Canadians from coast to coast to coast can support Team Canada? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. I'd like to thank my colleague warmly for this question, and I'd like to thank her for her leadership within our government. Madam Speaker, our athletes are real ambassadors for Canada. And as the main investor in the Canadian amateur sports system, Our government is proud to support Canadian athletes who are bringing together all 41 million Canadians to celebrate our unity and pride. That is why we have increased the monthly benefits for our athletes by 23%. There is also a lot of pressure on them, which is why we have invested $3.11 million additional dollars in health care for them. We all together, we will support them.
Madam Speaker, yesterday Health Canada officials revealed at committee that there are no age requirements at federally approved drug injection sites. In fact, Health Canada revealed there isn't even a requirement for ID. That means minors can legally use drugs in these consumption sites under Liberal law. The Health Minister approves supervised drug injection sites through the Controlled Drugs and Substances Act. Why are the Liberals allowing minors to inject hard drugs under their watch?
Wow. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Madam Speaker, I thank the member opposite for the question. As a father of 2 young children, 15 and 17, I know how important it is to ensure that we think about the health and safety of our children and our youth. We'll work hard in ensuring that they are not in any danger of moving forward, and that's what we'll continue to do on this side of the House, and I really look forward to working with both sides of the House to ensure the safety of our young children moving forward.
The Honourable Member for Riding Mountain.
Madam Speaker, the Health Minister approves these drug injection sites. And her own officials confirm there is no age limit to use them. That means a minor from a nearby school could walk in and legally inject fentanyl under this Liberal policy. If the Health Minister doesn't think minors should be injecting drugs at these sites that she approved, why doesn't the minister stop them today?
Hear, hear. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Madam Speaker, I welcome the member's question. I will work with him after the question period to find a solution with that member, and I thank him for the question once again.
The Honourable Member for Similkameen, South Okanagan, West Kootenay.
Madam Speaker, the Liberal Finance Minister failed to stabilize grocery prices like he promised 3 years ago. His new one-off rebate won't reduce the cost of a single item on the shelf. Food bank lines in my region won't shrink. Yet the Liberals voted against our motion to reduce transport and packaging costs for farmers. Food inflation must come down. When will the Liberals work with us to cut taxes to bring down the cost of food?
Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Their call for focusing on taxes in this particular instance is out of place, Madam Speaker. No serious analysis has given any credibility to what the Conservatives have put forward on the issue of food inflation. I've shared earlier this week, we all know it, the Bank of Canada recently affirmed it, climate change is a key factor, and the key factor when it comes to the increase at the grocery store in terms of prices. How could it not be? An increase in severe weather events, droughts and floods obviously limits supply, and that has an effect. But ultimately, Madam Speaker, the member and all members across the way, all of us in this House of Commons can get behind Budget 2025 because it focuses on Canadians.
Honourable Member for Pickering, Brooklyn.
Madam Speaker, after months of obstruction, the Justice Committee finally completed its study on the Bail and Sentencing Reform Act. Premiers, mayors, and law enforcement from across the country are asking for it to pass swiftly. Can the Parliamentary Secretary explain the important measures of the Bail and Sentencing Reform Act for us, please?
Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Thank you, Speaker. Bill C-14 is about keeping Canadians safe, and this government is leading. Speaker, we listened to police officers on front lines, to mayors and premiers, and to victims advocates who have been crystal clear that the status quo is not acceptable. That's why we brought forward a strong, targeted bail reform bill, and that is why we are pushing to get it passed without delay, and we expect the opposition, especially the Conservatives, to support this important bill because Canadians expect action, not obstruction, and this government is leading. Thank you.
Honourable Member for Regina, Wascana.
Madam Speaker, the Finance Minister promised 3 years ago to stabilize food prices. But today, Canada has the highest food inflation rate in the G7, and more Canadians are struggling to afford groceries. Clearly, this problem requires a Team Canada approach. Will the Liberals work with Conservatives to cancel the industrial carbon tax, the fuel standards tax, the plastic packaging tax, and fast-track results for Canadians?
Great question.
Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
I was intrigued when I heard Team Canada approach. I agree that we need a Team Canada approach. I think we should focus on serious solutions. And there is solutions, Madam Speaker, for the short term and the long term. The Groceries and Essentials benefit that they collaborated on, thankfully, is just one short-term measure. And I agree that it's not a magic bullet. It is certainly not that. What do we have to do to ensure the future sustainability of this country? Budget 2025 provides an answer. For the generations that are looking at us, what will we do? Will we rise above partisanship and pass that important budget?
The Honourable Member for Vancouver East.
The Prime Minister says he wants to build Canada up, yet he's slashing over 30,000 PSAC workers delivering core public services like EI, tax credits, food inspection, and more. Admin funding for friendship centres across the country will come to an end this fiscal. The Vancouver Aboriginal Friendship Centre is also being forced to fight for survival of its gender-based violence prevention programs and his urban programming for Indigenous peoples. Will the Prime Minister stop the cuts and protect the well-being of our communities with ongoing, stable, permanent funding for friendship centres and their programs? Yes or no?
Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, first of all, I would like to thank the public servants across Canada for helping us deal with the issues that Canadians and our country are dealing with at these uncertain times. I will say that the public service, Madam Speaker, has grown by over 40% over the past decade. We are focused on delivering better, faster services for Canadians. Part of that, Madam Speaker, is ensuring that we also bring our public service to a sustainable level so that the taxpayers across Canada, Madam Speaker, get the services that they require, but at the price that they are looking for.
Honourable Member for Edmonton Strathcona.
Madam Speaker, this week the NDP government in Manitoba took over a failing for-profit care home to protect seniors. Meanwhile, the federal government owns Revera, Canada's second largest for-profit long-term care chain. In Edmonton, Strathcona, 10 seniors died and 84% of the residents tested positive during COVID-19. Despite the efforts of hardworking staff, corners were cut, and tragedies like this occur every day at for-profit facilities across the country. When will this government prioritize the health and safety of seniors and nationalize long-term?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Madam Speaker, we are a government that stands squarely with our seniors. We have a long track record of defending them, of investing in long-term care, of protecting seniors through the difficult years of the pandemic.
That's right.
In particular, we've increased GIS, benefiting over 1 million seniors across Canada. We've increased our OAS payments to seniors over 75 when they face higher costs, expanded our earnings exemption, enhanced CPP, delivering dental care for over 6 million Canadians. Many seniors in my riding call this a lifeline to oral health that they haven't received before. I look forward to working with the member opposite in continuing to provide.
That is all the time for all questions. The Honourable Member for Calgary Crawford on point of order.
Yeah, Madam Speaker, the standing orders and practice of this House demand that when members have said something that is false or untrue, that they be given the opportunity to correct the record. The parliamentary secretary to the government House leader had accused Conservatives of filibustering the BIA. This is patently false. All parties agree
matter for debate.
to a work plan, including Liberals.
That is a matter for debate, I think.